We are the universe experiencing itself. Alan Watts. Hello beautiful souls, my name is Andrea, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna talk about an aspect of the self that I've noticed that lately, at least in my experience, has started to become more obvious. And I thought that this is the perfect timing to address this topic, especially with everything that's happening right now and because many people are on quarantine, which is the perfect time to self-analyze ourselves and to become aware of things that we usually tend to overlook. And so today I'm gonna be talking about who is I? What is the ego? How does it form? How does it manifest itself in our lives? And how does it affect it? And so I thought I'd talk about the ego because I know I mentioned it many times before, but I never actually explained what it is. So I welcome you to a cup of tea and enjoy the video. So basically the ego is our identity. When we're little kids and we start to develop ourselves as a person within our family and then within society and in school, we start to become aware that we are a person. And as stupid as that sounds, but we begin to observe the world and realize how things work, what creates our society as we know it, and what shapes us as individuals. And so, because we are social beings, we have the need of belonging. And we need to integrate ourselves and feel that we are a part of something. And we begin to suppress certain parts of ourselves that don't correspond with our environment, that don't fit within society. Don Miguel Ruiz has a book, The Four Agreements, which I have right here. And he explains this process as our domestication, because we did not actually have the opportunity to choose the belief systems that form the I. These were already there and we simply inherited them. We believed them and we agreed with them. That is, we agreed that these are my belief system, these are my values, therefore this is what I am. Well, this is exactly how our ego begins to emerge. That is our personality, the identity that we identify with and call I, which is formed through our natural development as human beings and through social conditioning. And I'm gonna mention here that we actually are multi-dimensional beings. And what we're experiencing now is just a tiny little fragment of who we actually are. It is only a temporary identity. As when an actor is playing a character and brings it to life, the actor is not the character. Although when he embodies his role, his essence and personality are now completely merged with the identity given to him. And so when he's on stage as the character, he identifies so much with it that he practically forgets who he really is. And this is what the actor Jim Carrey also explained at the beginning of his spiritual awakening. He explained that there's a moment of separation in which you realize that your own character is very thin and you wonder if it's this easy to lose Jim Carrey. Then who is Jim Carrey? Oh, he actually doesn't exist. There is only the manifestation of consciousness, and then is given a name, a nationality, a religion, etc. And all these things come together and form an identity. Only that, after all, none of it is real. And this is how Alan Watts, who was a writer in a lecture, also explains the ego. He said, when the curtain goes down at the end of the drama, the hero and the villain come out hand in hand. And the audience applauds them both because they know that the role of hero and the role of villain are just masks. This is the identity which we consider I. We are like actors who have forgotten that they're actually playing in a scene called Life on Earth. And we identify so much with our character that we in fact forget that we are actors. We are souls having a temporary human experience here on Earth. And we are so absorbed by this false identity and its belief system that we take them too seriously. We tend to defend so much the belief system that our character inherited that we start to create walls between ourselves because we have lost the contact with our true self. I also mentioned in previous videos that everything comes from the subconscious mind, that is, thoughts, actions, and automatic patterns, because we are not aware of their process. 95% of who we think we are today is a result of the belief system that we received with our character. 95% of what we defend so fiercely is nothing but the illusion of a false self. And this is exactly what creates so many differences and conflicts between people. The fact that they don't realize that everything that forms their opinions, their point of view, and their vision of what is right and true for them is just the manifestation of the ego. This is why people get angry at each other, because you hurt me, because they have the impression that the events in their lives are the cause of their suffering, when in reality their suffering is nothing more but the perspective of the ego, the character they forgot they're playing. And these things may vary from one person to the other, depending on how much each of us identify with our ego, with its character. For example, I may say, I'm a lawyer, so you have to show me respect because I went to university and I have worked so hard to get where I am today, and so you have to treat me as such. This is the example of an over-identification with the ego. And this would be totally true from my perspective because this is my ego. And I identify so much with it that I actually lost touch with my true self. And this is the only reality that I perceive. We forgot that we are not a race. We are not the things that we own, and we are not our goals. If I am just my ego, and you don't live up to my ego's expectations, or you don't live up to the expectation that my ego sets, my character is gonna feel hurt and wronged. I will say it's your fault that I'm hurting because you lacked me respect, or you made me react like that, you made me judge you. You are the one who provoked me. And we do not realize that all these things are the result of the over-identification with the ego. The reason you're hurting is not somewhere out there in the world. It's not in the actions or words of those around you. The reason you're looking for, it's inside of you, and it all depends on your level of self-awareness. If I'm asking you, for example, who are you? What are you gonna answer to me? Don't answer by describing your character. Who is actually you? And when you understand this, you're gonna realize that nothing of what others say or do has anything to do with yourself, but it's only a part of them, of their ego, that needs awareness and healing. And so it's not gonna bother you anymore, because you will understand that they're simply not being aware of their ego, and neither are you. So the ego is actually not a bad thing. It's the essence of the identity, of the character that you represent. And as we're in human form, we need some traits that define us to grow from it, to use our ego to create what we came here to create. But we must, however, make peace with our ego, and we must realize that just like us, the other people that we interact with, whether they play a positive or a negative role from your point of view, from your ego self, and exactly as their character is, they need this experience to evolve. Before we start judging somebody, or before we start judging ourselves, we should step back and stop identifying with a false self and its inherited belief system. Let go of the ego and realize that what you're seeing and judging in this other person is just a reflection of the wounds of your own ego. And this is not necessarily an easy thing to do. It takes a lot of work with the self to realize that actually nothing of which you think you are is true. It doesn't exist. And that doesn't mean that you're insignificant. On the contrary, you give up an identity that's limiting you, and you awaken to your true spiritual essence, which is way beyond what we can understand now in human form. So this was today's video, and I hope it makes you reflect on who is actually you, and it makes you start asking deeper questions about why did I react like that? Why do I think in a certain way? And so on. So if you like this video, you can help me by hitting like and subscribe to my channel. I'm gonna stop here for now. See you on the next time. Light and love.